There are 10 financial mistakes that quietly make you poorer every single month. And the scary part, they don't feel like mistakes while you're making them. They feel responsible, smart, the kind of thing you'd actually tell your younger sibling to do. And that's exactly the problem. So, today we're breaking down all 7. Straight from the finance books serious investors actually swear by. Not some guru's slideshow. Let's start with the one that sounds the most harmless out of all of them. Number 1. You open a retirement account or some kind of investment account. You set up the auto deposit. Money goes in every month like clockwork. You feel great about it. You tell your friends you've started investing. Except you haven't. Because putting money into an investment account and actually investing that money are 2 completely different steps. And almost nobody tells you that there's a second step. What actually happens is your money lands in the account and then just sits there, in cash, earning practically nothing, while you walk around thinking it's out there in the stock market, working hard, growing your future. Meanwhile, it's just napping in an account for months, sometimes years. This isn't a small mistake either. Depending on how long that money sits there doing nothing, you could be looking at losing out on thousands of dollars in growth you never even noticed was missing. Because the account never sends you a notification saying, "Hey, by the way, your money's just been sitting here doing absolutely nothing since March." So if you've ever set up an investment account and then never actually picked what to invest in, congratulations. You've been saving, not investing. Cute, but not the same thing. Fix is simple. Go check your account right now. See if your money is actually sitting in an index fund or something similar, or if it's just vibing in cash. If it's the second one, fix that today, not this weekend. Number 2. And this one is the one everybody tells themselves, including me, including probably you right now. I'll start investing once I actually earn good money. Right now it's barely anything anyway. What's the point? Here's the thing though. The point isn't how much money you start with. The point is how long you let it sit there growing. And those are not the same thing, even though they feel like they should be. There's this example finance writers love to use, and I'm going to steal it because it makes the point so well. 2 people, let's call them Sally and Dan. Because apparently, that's the law in every finance book ever written. Sally starts investing $100 a month at 25, and then at 35, she just stops. Doesn't add a single dollar more for the rest of her life. Just lets it sit. Dan, on the other hand, waits till he's 35 to start. Then he invests that same $100 a month, every single month, all the way until he's 65. 30 years of consistent investing. So obviously, Dan wins, right? He put in 3 times the amount of money Sally did. Wrong. Sally wins by around $80,000. And here's why that even makes sense. Dan invested 3 times more money overall, but most of his money went in late, which means it only had a few years to grow before he needed it. Sally's money, even the very first $100 she put in at 25, had 40 years to sit there and compound. That 10-year head start mattered more than 30 extra years of contributions ever could. 10 years of starting earlier beats 30 years of trying to catch up later. And this is exactly why "I'll start when I earn more" is such an expensive sentence, because the version of you with more money later still can't buy back the 10 years you didn't invest now. So no, you don't need to wait till you're earning 6 figures to start. You need a small, boring amount of money every month and the willingness to stop saying next month.
Number 3, and honestly, this is probably the one you've actually done. Not theoretically. Actually, the market drops. Red numbers everywhere. Your investment app looks like a crime scene, and your brain very helpfully says, "Sell it now," before it gets worse. So you sell. You lock in the loss. You feel a strange sense of relief, like you escaped something. And then a few weeks later, the market recovers, like it almost always eventually does. And you're sitting there having turned a temporary dip into a permanent loss, all by yourself, with your own hands. Or the opposite happens. Everything's going up, everyone's posting gains, and you panic in the other direction. You buy in at the top, right when things are most expensive, purely because you're scared of missing out. Both of these are the same mistake wearing different outfits. One is fear driving the decision. The other is greed driving the decision. Neither one of them is you actually thinking. And here's the part that stings a little. The people who do well with money long-term aren't the ones who never feel scared or excited. They feel it too. They've just trained themselves to not act on it immediately because money doesn't actually care how you feel about it on any given Tuesday. It just responds to what you do, and panic, no matter how justified it feels in the moment, is rarely a good financial strategy. So next time your stomach drops looking at your portfolio, that's not your signal to act fast. That's your signal to close the app, breathe, and let your original plan do its job instead of your panic. Number 4. This is the one that sneaks up on people who are actually doing well, which almost sounds backwards, but stay with me. You get a raise or a better job. More money is coming in every month than before. Great. Should be a good thing. Except somehow, a few months later, you're not saving any more than you were before the raise. You've just upgraded everything. Bigger apartment, better phone, more food delivery because now you deserve it. Nobody sat down and decided to do this on purpose. It just happens, quietly, expense by expense, until one day you're earning significantly more than you used to and somehow still living paycheck to paycheck. Just a nicer looking paycheck to paycheck. This is what's called lifestyle creep. And it's sneaky specifically because every individual purchase feels completely justified in the moment. It's never one big reckless decision. It's 15 small reasonable ones stacked on top of each other. And here's the part that should genuinely worry you a little. Even high earners fall into this. Doctors, lawyers, people making serious money, plenty of them are still living paycheck to paycheck because their spending always finds a way to rise exactly as fast as their income does. So the actual fix isn't earn more money. You can see from the doctors and lawyers that earning more doesn't automatically fix this. The fix is deciding, on purpose, before the raise even lands, how much of every new dollar is going to your future and not your current lifestyle. Otherwise, you're not actually getting richer. You're just upgrading the version of broke you're living in. Number 5. And this one is just pure ugly math. No psychology needed, just numbers doing exactly what numbers do. You've got a credit card balance. Every month, you pay the minimum amount due. Feels responsible. You're not ignoring it. You're not in trouble. The app isn't sending you angry emails. So it feels handled. It is not handled. Here's what's actually happening behind the scenes. Most of that minimum payment isn't even touching your actual balance. It's mostly going toward interest, which means your real debt barely moves month after month, while you keep paying, and somehow the number barely changes. At minimum payments, a balance that genuinely shouldn't take long to clear can drag on for years. And by the time you actually pay it off, you can end up paying back significantly more than you originally borrowed. Not because you bought more stuff, just because of how long you let the interest sit there compounding against you. This is the exact same compounding we talked about earlier with Sally and Dan, except now it's working against you instead of for you. Same force, opposite direction. Much less fun this time. And debt companies know this. They are not designing minimum payments to help you pay things off quickly. They're designed to keep that balance alive for as long as legally possible, because that's how they make their money. So, if you're only ever paying the minimum, you're not staying afloat. You're slowly funding someone else's profits with your own future paycheck. The fix is unglamorous, but it works. Pay more than the minimum whenever you possibly can, even a little more. Every extra bit goes straight at the actual balance instead of interest, and it adds up faster than you'd expect. Number 6. And out of all 10, this might be the one quietly causing the most damage. Because it's not really one mistake. It's the thing that makes every other mistake on this list so much worse when it happens. Most people don't go broke because of one disaster. One bad month doesn't usually wreck someone financially. What actually wrecks people is having zero buffer, so that one bad month turns into 3 bad decisions in a row. Here's how it actually plays out. Your car breaks down, or you lose some income, or some random expense shows up that you didn't see coming, because that's just what random expenses do. And because you have no savings sitting there for exactly this situation, you reach for the credit card. Now you're in debt from an emergency, which means you're paying interest on top of an expense you didn't even choose to have. And paying off that debt eats into next month's money too. So now you're tighter next month than you were this month, with no room to absorb the next surprise either. One unexpected expense, no buffer, and suddenly you're trapped in exactly the debt situation we just talked about in mistake number 5. Except this time, it wasn't even a purchase you wanted to make. This is why having even a small emergency fund isn't boring extra money sitting around doing nothing. It's the one thing standing between annoying month and financial spiral that takes years to climb out of. You don't need 6 months of expenses saved up overnight. Nobody's asking for that. You need enough that the next surprise expense doesn't have to become a debt. Because without that buffer, you're not one mistake away from trouble. You're one phone call, one flat tire, one unlucky week away from it. And that's a genuinely terrifying way to live, even if you've gotten used to it. Number 7. And this is the one that quietly explains why people fail at fixing the other 6. At some point, after realizing they're doing half the things on this list, most people swing way too far in the other direction. No more eating out. No more subscriptions. No more anything fun. Starting today, forever, as a punishment for past spending. And it lasts about 11 days. Because cutting everything out at once isn't discipline. It's just setting yourself up to quit dramatically the first time something tempting shows up. Nobody sustains "I will enjoy nothing" for very long. That's not a financial plan, that's a hunger strike. The actual fix that works long-term is a lot less extreme. You don't cut everything, you just get specific about what you genuinely care about and spend on that without guilt. And then cut, without mercy, the stuff you don't actually care about but somehow still pay for every month. Maybe that means you genuinely love going out with friends, so that stays. But the 4 streaming subscriptions you forgot you even had, those go. Maybe you love good coffee, so that's non-negotiable. But the gym membership you've used twice since January? That one's not sacred, no matter how guilty you feel canceling it. This is the part that ties every single mistake on this list together. None of them happened because you're bad with money. They happened because nobody ever taught you the actual mechanics. Just vague advice like save more and spend less, with zero explanation of how any of it actually works underneath. You don't need to be more disciplined. You don't need to suffer. You need to understand the actual mechanics, set up the boring systems once, and then just let them run. You're not behind. You're not bad at this. You were just never shown the second half of the instructions. All right? If you actually made it this far, you're already doing better than most people who clicked on this video for the thumbnail and left in the first 30 seconds. Subscribe.